Most runners think the only way to get better is to run more miles, right? Train almost every day. But after nearly 10 years as a physical therapist and run coach, I've seen that approach lead to one thing over and over again: injuries, especially during marathon training. This video, I'm going to show you why I recommend running just 3 times per week and how that simple shift can help you stay injury free while still getting faster. So running more is leading to a lot of injuries. I've noticed this for myself when I'll be training for like a marathon, even a half marathon. I'd follow the traditional plan, would have you running 5 or 6 days per week. And then my body started to break down. Despite doing quote unquote recovery runs, my body wasn't actually recovered. I started keep developing these reoccurring injuries like runner's knee, IT band syndrome, shin splints, Achilles tendon pain, even some plantar fasciitis. I was like, man, I had almost every injury in the book, just because I was, kept stubbornly following these plans, thinking, oh, that's what everyone else does. Yet I'm like, there has to be a better way to train. I mean, is pain normal? I started thinking maybe pain is just part of training. You just have to be in pain when you're training for a marathon, or even a half marathon. But then I also saw the same pattern as a physical therapist. Like maybe it's not just me. I noticed that also a lot of my clients who are coming in and patients were also dealing with similar problems. They were training for marathons and they'd end up getting hurt because their body wasn't just properly recovering. And this is a common theme. I sort of noticed that we were just not getting enough true recovery from running. A lot of people don't realize this, is that running is a high impact sport. When I first started, I didn't even know this. I thought, how is that impact? You're not playing football. You're not making any contact with anyone. It's not a contact sport. No, but your body is making impact with the ground. So every time your foot hits the ground, it's 2 to 3 times body weight. So if you're a 150-pound runner, that's 300 to 450 pounds of force every time your foot hits the ground. Right. And if your body's not it's not strong enough to handle the demands of running, doesn't have enough true recovery time, then yes, you end up getting hurt. And many different folks have looked at this, different types of studies. The numbers vary, but I found that it tends to be more on the higher end. Here's this little screenshot of the New York Times where they looked at some stuff that 9 out of 10 runners have to sit out of training every year due to an injury. And as a physical therapist, I noticed a very similar trend. So if you want a copy of this Google Doc to learn more about 3 runs per week and to enjoy staying injury-free for life, I'm sharing it in my free online run group. Click the link in the description to join. So switching to a 3-run per week training structure, like what does that look like? What does that weekly plan look like? So one, just if you're running 5 or 6 days a week, you're just going to run less to 3 days per week. I recommend a speed workout, for example, track repeat 400s, 800s, 1 kilometers, tempo threshold run, depending on what you're training for exactly. It doesn't have to be on the longer end. It could be on the shorter end. Again, it depends what you're training for. If it's a 5K versus a marathon. A long run also can be on the shorter end, but if you're training for a marathon, then you maybe start training towards the longer end, right? So I typically recommend anywhere from 1.5 hours, 2.5 hours for the long run, depending, again, what you're training for. And then if you're a complete beginner and this is overwhelming, let's say you're watching my video here, you can actually just do 3 days a week of run walk, right? You could do easy run walk method as you build up your fitness and your conditioning. You don't have to do speed workouts or tempo run if you're a complete beginner, because at that stage, you just have to get your body moving, and it'll be safer on your body, because you might find that even this 3 runs per week schedule with the speed workout and the tempo run might be too much on your body. So it's probably better for you, if you're a complete beginner, to do a run walk method. And as you build up your fitness, you could start introducing the speed workout and tempo runs, and swapping out the run walks. And then on the other days of the week, right, at least 2 days a week, you'll do cross training. I'm a big fan of walking as a cross training for running. Now, if walking's too easy for you, maybe you're more intermediate, you could do weighted walking, right? You put on a weighted vest or put on a weighted backpack called rucking. I used to be in the military. I'm a former U.S. Marine, and that was actually part of our conditioning, was just moving around with a weighted vest and a weighted backpack, a rucksack on. A great fitness builder, when it also actually translates to improving your running, because you're building your conditioning, and some of the same muscle groups involved are used in weighted walking or rucking to help you carry over for running as well. So just 2 times a week, you'll do the cross training. And yes, there's other ways that you could go on the bike, you could elliptical, you could row. I'm just saying what I found to be more of a carryover for running. But anyhow, you'd cross train about 30 minutes to 60 minutes or so. And even if you're short on time, even if it's just 20 minutes, right? That's fine too, if you're very short on time. But as you start making time and taking it more seriously, you can start increasing the time as well. And then strength training. This is actually the biggest thing I see a lot of runners miss. And folks who are usually training, almost every day of the week with running, oftentimes say they don't have enough time to do strength training. Well, by just running less, you could actually swap out about 30% of your running volume with heavy lifting and explosive lifting and actually improve your performance. There's actually studies who've shown this as well. If you're curious, you could always message me. I'm happy to share the studies with you. But anyhow, strength training 2 to 3 days per week, heavy lifting, squats, deadlifts, and lunges, accessory lifts. This is just where you're working more on muscular endurance. This is typically the high reps where you may be doing high rep hamstring curls, calf raises, hip thrusters. You can even do leg extension for the quads, step downs, etc. And then explosive lifting, things like speed squats, speed deadlifts, box jumps, squat jumps, drop jumps, all sorts of explosive. And then you'll program this throughout the week. You may combine the jumping training with the lifting training, or you may have separate days for that. It really depends on your recovery level. And if you're not sure about programming, obviously work with someone who could help you there. But when you're prioritizing strength training 2 or 3 days per week, I've noticed that, one, you actually run faster. A lot of times people are counterintuitive when you do the proper strength training, which I mentioned here. You actually run faster, become more athletic, and also help decrease these overuse running-related injuries that tend to happen because now your body's stronger, able to handle the demands of running, and you actually improve your performance. And then daily mobility work, 10 to 20 minutes to address whatever tight areas you have. For myself, I typically focus on a daily basis on my hips, my ankles, and also my lower back. I used to have a back and knee injury that I sustained after serving the Marine Corps. So I have to keep making sure I address those areas so they can stay mobile and limber, and so they don't present a problem later on. So mobility work is very important. I say like brushing your teeth, you just do it every day. Even if you only have like 10 minutes to get it done, maybe a morning or evening mobility. So fewer injuries and better performance. My overuse injuries dropped dramatically once I reduced the running frequency, right? Just switching to this 3 runs per week schedule. The strength training was one of the big ingredients in doing that, right? Maintaining my performance, and even improving my speed with the strength, both the heavy lifting and explosive training, and also seeing the same with my clients as well. They're like, whoa, Ray, I hit a PR. They even expect that. They were just working for me on the pain side. I'm like, oh, they just wanted pain relief. And they also noticed they actually got faster as well. They were shocked. They started training more consistently, fewer flare-ups, fewer injuries, and many runners stopped cycling through this boom-bust cycle of having injuries, having to go to the doctor's office, being like in tears and stuff because they're like, oh man, I can't run again. Now they're able to run again, enjoy, and even older runners in their 60s. I actually helped a woman in her 60s with knee arthritis complete the New York City Marathon when other PTs weren't able to help her. Right? She only got partial relief. She even tried like cortisone injections and stuff like that. That stuff didn't work for her. And then working with me, we finally got her healthy, following this kind of well-rounded, holistic approach to training. So I currently have 2 spots open to work with me privately for one-to-one. So if you want to run pain-free, and if you're curious about how I work and how I can help you run pain-free, there's a link to apply in the description. First come, first serve. So train smarter, not just run more, right? Run less frequently, but with purpose, can reduce injury risk. Strength training is key, not just for injury prevention, but also improving running performance as well. And a balanced plan of quality runs, cross-training, and mobility leads to long-term consistency. If you structure your training this way, you can stay healthier, keep improving, and keep running for years instead of burning out or getting injured.